Hi, everyone. Welcome to our 2020 webinar today. Thank you so much for taking the time to spend a little bit of your afternoon with us. I will be honest, I thought that I would be recouping from NeoCon today, but it's an honor that we can at least spend some time together in a virtual sense and take a look at a couple new things. If you haven't met me already, my name is Vanessa DeCuckoo, and I am the Global Training Manager here at 2020. I will have a chance to share a little bit more about training in a bit, but before we get to that, we have some really exciting things to talk about. Now, also, outside of events like this, and hopefully in-person events in the future, you can always find us on social media too. So if you haven't connected with us, just look for us at 2020 Spaces. And you'll also notice on social, we do a couple different things on different days of the week to keep everybody up to date on the latest and greatest in our software and industry trends. So can you guys do me a favor? Answer this quick question on the screen. Tell us, what is the primary way that you are currently meeting with your clients? This obviously is a much different question than what we would have asked just a few months ago, but give us some feedback. Is virtual your go-to at the moment? Have you had a chance to do some in-person yet? Oh, and interesting. I mean, I guess I shouldn't really say totally interesting. I'm not surprised that the majority of you are conducting virtual meetings today, right? So 53%. Everybody, I think, is just a little bit different in every state and kind of when everyone's opened up. Many of us are based here in Michigan, so we're real excited to see things opening up quickly. I see a lot of phone conversation, of course, email. Okay, that's good. Thank you. Another question for you, though. Working with your clients today, what are you seeing as their needs in the post-pandemic office? Right? Are your clients asking for faster furniture delivery times? Are they coming to you to help reconfigure their spaces? Do they need designs with more physical distancing? Are they asking for certain things focused on, hygiene, materials? Or have you had an influx of office requests? Ooh, this one's quite a mix. This looks good. Yeah, lots of physical distancing. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a second. I know you guys are pros at this, but of course we want to find some of the best and the fastest and easiest ways to do it right inside the software, of course. A few home office considerations. Yeah. But yeah, the top two, reconfigurations and designing with physical distance. Okay, that's great. Thank you. And then, of course, I just have one more question to ask. This last question is very specific to our software. Have you ever used our 2020 Compare feature? It's a tool that's available in our software today to help you take an old layout and compare it to a new one. Wow, you guys, you are going to want to stick around for today's presentation then. I see a lot of people who have not had a chance to use this, so I will very, very excitedly introduce you to our speaker for today's webinar. Cindy Maple is going to be presenting in just a moment, and Cindy is our product manager for the 2020 Office Suite. If you haven't met her, you should know that the majority of her career has been spent in the technology sector, but she did start as a designer in the dealership. So from her perspective, she's going to give us some real life scenarios and show you a couple new things. So Cindy, take it away. Show us everything that's new in the current version of 2020.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me okay. As
Sounds
Vanessa
good.
said, okay, great. Thanks, Vanessa. As Vanessa said, my name's Cindy Maple, and I'm a product manager for our 2020 Office applications. Like Vanessa, I'd like to welcome you to our Build Your Business with 2020 Office webinar. Wow, what a world we're living in these days. We know that not only is the world changing, but the demands on you as office furniture professionals are changing as well. And today we hope to share some tips and tricks for using 2020 Office applications to better meet those demands. First of all, I'd like to thank our friends at AIS today for providing an example project for us to use in our webinar. And first, I'd like to take a look at a typical pre-pandemic design or pre-pandemic office. And if you remember, it's not so long ago that we had wide open spaces and we had large areas to collaborate, and the world was moving towards lower panels and fewer screens. And often we found our footprint that we're working in even smaller. And that was in favor of having larger social gathering places. So contrast that to a typical, what we call post-pandemic design, where we're going to need some additional screening. And as the poll showed a few minutes ago, we're going to have to work on our physical distancing. We need to focus on easy to clean surfaces and barriers and look for opportunities for hygiene areas in our workplace. We will also be reorienting ourselves in our work clusters, and we really don't want to lose that collaboration, but we're going to have to limit our close contact. One thing's for certain, offices and office designs are changing, and the furniture will need to rapidly be configured as well. I'm sure this is not news to any of you. So today I want to show you some of our 2020 tools that will be helpful in handling these changes. Some you're going to know about and some will be new to you. I want to give you a high-level introduction to some of the tools we will be using today. So we'll be looking at using CAP Complete. We'll be looking at Compare. We'll be looking at some new worksheet enhancements that just came out with our version 2020 software. And we'll be looking at using 2020 Visual Impression Mobile in a new way with customers to help you in this virtual world. Just at a high level, 2020 CAP Complete is our new all-in-one version of CAP. 2020 CAP Complete comes with its own CAD engine. Just as some reminders, it reads and writes DWG and DXF files. You're able to handle very large projects with CAP Complete. It supports all of the 200 plus manufacturers that we support in both our CAP and Giza tools. And it also supports all the manufacturer-specific automation and functionality. Along with CAP and Giza, CAP Complete is also integrated with 2020 Worksheet and 2020 Visual Impression, giving you an entire suite of tools. CAP Compare is a useful tool that has been around for a while, but not everyone knows about it, and the polls that we just took a few minutes ago definitely show that. Compare is great for modifying and reconfiguring your furniture, as it allows you to compare worksheets from existing and new designs, as well as include some inventory files. So by taking worksheets from your existing design, your new design, and an inventory, you can determine what you need to order, what's going to be left over, and what you need to reuse. And I'll be showing you this live in just a minute. And the other thing that's nice about Compare is you choose the criteria. So you can compare things just on the basics of part number and quantity, or you can also include things like options or tagging in your Compare. And Visual Impression Mobile is available with every Visual Impression license. So if you're using Visual Impression today, you have access to this. We have previously focused on using Visual Impression Mobile to share information between design and sales teams. But today I'm going to show you what you can do with it as a designer to provide your customers a virtual presentation of your project. I'm going to switch over in just a minute to do the demo, but before I get started, I want to show you where to find CAP Compare and Visual Impression Mobile. And then I'm going to show you how to pin those to your taskbar so they're easier to find. So if you go to your Start button and you look under 2020 Technologies, you'll find Compare, and you can right-click and pin to your taskbar. And then we also have down here, we have Visual Impression Mobile, which you can right-click and pin to your taskbar. And that'll put these out here so they're a little bit easier for you to see and find. Okay, so let's go live into the software, and I can show you some of these things that we're talking about. So I'm going to switch over here to our CAP Compare product. And you'll see, thanks to our friends at AIS, I have a sample product here, which is we're calling our pre-pandemic or our existing layout. So this is what the office looks like today. And I'm going to quickly convert this plan to 3D, just so you can get a visual of what's different here. And I'm going to go into the views, and I'm going to do a southeast view here and hide. So just in a quick 3D, you can see we've got some lower panels, we've got people facing one another, we've got some guest chairs. All of that works well together. So let's go back to the top view here and go back to, I'm going to convert this 3D back to plan. And part of what I want to show you is I'm using I'm using Cap Complete today for my drawing package, and I want you to be able to see how similar it is to Cap and how easy it is to use. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a worksheet of our pre-pandemic layout. And I'm sure you guys are used to doing this, but I'm going to go ahead and pull this into Worksheet. And when I finish, I've done some pre-setup on this, and I've done some optioning so that our quote is pretty much ready out of the gate. So you can see now I have my pre-pandemic bill of materials, and everything has options in it. Okay. So let's go back to Cap Complete. And now let's look at our post-pandemic. And again, I'm going to convert this, I'm going to convert the plan to 3D. And we'll change the views. All right. And now you can see that we've put some extra screens on top. And these, you'll see when we get over into VI that these are actually glass screens. We've removed the seating. We've reoriented people a little bit so that they're not sitting right on top of each other, and we've added some divider panels in here. So again, I'm going to go back to convert 3D to plan. And I'll go back to a top view. So we're back into something that you recognize. And I'm then going to create a worksheet from our post-pandemic layout. So again, basically what I'm showing you here is I have an existing layout. I'm reconfiguring my layout. And I have resulting bill of materials files or worksheet files for each of these. So let me go ahead and open 2020 worksheet. And you can see here's my pre-pandemic file. Just go ahead and save this. And my post-pandemic file, and I'll save that. And you'll see in a minute that some of the things that have changed are we changed up some of the fabrics. We've changed out some of the chairs. And then I'm going to open a third file here. I'm going to open a customer inventory file. And basically, I just created a small file today for a couple of reasons. I created a small file that this could be just typical of what the customer had left over on their original install. So you just got a smattering of product. But I also wanted to show you, I wanted to use this opportunity to show you some of the new enhancements that we've made in Worksheet. So let's say the customer has a couple of extra of these guest chairs on hand, and I'm going to copy those over into my inventory. So one of the things that we've changed is you can now use Control-C and Control-V to copy items from one worksheet into another. And you no longer have to do that from the menu. You can do the Control-C, Control-V directly from the keyboard. And what you're seeing now is that those two guest chairs have now been put in at the bottom of my quote. The reason that they were put in at the bottom of the quote is we've also changed a little bit. We've changed the way that you select and deselect lines. So as you can see here, I've selected line number 2. I can deselect that line by clicking anywhere in a field that doesn't take text. So just by clicking here, I can deselect that field. I don't always need to go up to deselect it in a different way or remember to hit the escape key. I can actually click in there and change it. Now, we haven't changed the current line item too much, so if I click anywhere that will receive text, you'll see that my current line will change. The other nice thing about this is if I copy and paste some lines, so let's go back to my pre-pandemic design. Again, I'm going to click somewhere to clear that. Oops. And I'm going to come down here to the bottom, and I'm going to select a bunch of lines by just selecting, and I'm going to do a Control-C. And if I have a line selected and I press Control-V at that point, it will put those lines right below the line that's current. If I don't have a current line, it'll put it down at the bottom of the worksheet like I showed you earlier. So that's pretty exciting for us. So I copied these chairs in from our other worksheet, but I also, one of the other changes I wanted to show you is now that I've made this change, let's say I have these chairs or even this work surface, and I want to come in here and I want to change some of the options. It used to be you had to go to the pull down menu, but now I can go back and I can just click on that check mark and it'll ask me, are you sure you want to change the options? And if I say yes, it'll take me back into the options dialog and let me make those changes. So let's say for whatever reason I want to change this to a chalk finish. I can finish that, and that will be updated in my worksheet automatically. So it's pretty handy just to be able to click on this. If you choose no, it just assumes that you didn't want to go in there. But if you click yes, it takes you back and allows you to option from that point forward. So we're really excited about this change. This is something our customers have been asking for a while. And then the other thing is I can also select lines now, and I can use the delete key on my keyboard, and I can come in and I can delete those lines. It'll ask me if I'm sure I want to delete them, and it'll take them out of my quote. So those are some of the new enhancements that we've made that are part of our version 2020 that should have just arrived at your dealership in the last couple of weeks. And I also wanted to show you that we have added a few columns, and these columns actually are becoming very they're very timely, I guess, because some of the columns that we've added under catalog info, there's two columns. One is called lead time. Actually, lead time has been in there, and we also have modifier. But I wanted to show you that in preparation for showing you cap compare, I can come in here to lead time, and I can use my assign feature and then go into lead time, and I can say this is in stock because I have it in my warehouse or my customer has it in their inventory, either way. And then I can also do the same thing in the modifier field, and I could, for this example, say that this is my let's call it customer inventory. So it's a way to help us identify things once we're in cap compare. Okay, so I'm going to save those. And let me go back here. And again, I'll go out of that. Save that. Okay, so now we started in the design. Now I've got 3 worksheets that represent my existing drawing, my new drawing, and my customer inventory. So I'm going to close out a worksheet right now. And I'm going to come down here to compare. And because we put compare down at the bottom, I can show you how this works. So the first thing we want to do is we want to decide what are our existing worksheets. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to pick my pre-pandemic worksheet. And I'm also going to pick my customer inventory because those are the 2 files that I have. That's the product I have on hand. And then over here I'm going to add my post-pandemic design, because this is all the things that I want to reconfigure to. So I'm basically setting up the different files. And you can also see that in these files, you can add multiple. So if you have multiple files, multiple worksheets you want to compare against, you can do that. The next part I want to set up here is I want to come in here and I want to choose where I want these to go. So for today's presentation, I've got a webinar folder that I've got set up. And then I want to name my file. So these are new items. So these are, in my vernacular, are to be ordered. So these are the items that I want to order, or that I need to order. And this one is going to be the items that I'm going to have left over. So these items will be left over. And then in this case, these are the items that I need to reuse. So they were in the old layout, and I need them in my new layout as well. So I'm going to click on that. And then I'm also going to click on the CSV report, and I'll show you what that does in just a second. But this gives me kind of a summary report out of what Compare is doing. And then as far as this section here, we have the ability to compare, and it's up to the user how finely they want to compare things. So for right now, I'm going to compare things based on manufacturer, product number, and product description. You can take it to a lower level, as I mentioned earlier. If I care what options I'm using, in some cases I just need to know I need a chair. In other cases, I want to know I have a blue chair. It's going to be up to the designer as to where they want to, how deep they want this to go. But you can basically include any type of product information or item information that we have in a worksheet. You also have the ability to flatten standards or flatten panel configs. And that, again, that's up to you. Do you want to compare things on a standard level and keep the integrity of your standard or your panel config together? Or do you want to have individual parts and pieces? In any case, right now I just really want to focus on comparing the basic items. So I'm going to click Compare. And what you're going to see is the operation was complete, but because I selected that CSV report, it will also tell me, it'll give me a report on many things I would want to know, like, okay, what were the files that I compared? Those are listed here. What is my new file? And what was my comparison criteria? So it'll show me what I have X on there. And then down in the bottom here, it'll actually tell you, what am I going to need new? What am I going to have in excess? And what am I going to need to reuse to create my new layout? So this is information from you, but don't worry, we've actually saved each one of these columns in their own worksheet that you'll be able to view. So I'm just going to close this right now, and I'm not going to save it for right now. So essentially, Compare is complete at this point, so I can close it. And now I'm going to go into Worksheet. And in Worksheet, I can now view each one of those each one of those worksheets, and then I know what to do with those. So let's go in here, and again, here's my items to be ordered. So here's the list of all the items that I'm going to need to order to do my new configuration. I can open items that I'm going to reuse. And this will tell me all the items that I need to reuse. And then I have a third area, and these are going to be the items that are left over, which means anything that wasn't used in the new configuration, plus all my inventory items, since I had an inventory here, those will all come over. And again, you can turn on those additional columns if you want, and it'll show you what if there's any information in there that you might find useful as well. So those can be turned on in any of these three. Okay, so as you can see, if those that were in the poll earlier, if you didn't know that this exists, this is a really handy tool, and it can save you a lot of time. I did want to note that Compare is set up to compare product number to product number, so it is not optimized to provide alternatives to you. So if you have a case that you need a 48-inch screen and you have two 24-inch screens, it's not going to give you that information. But it will compare part number to part number and tell you what you need to order, what's left over, and what can be reused. Okay, so the next step in this, now that we've done our before and after design, and now that we've compared our items and we know what needs to be ordered and what's left over and what can be reused, I'm going to go ahead and close Worksheet here. And I'm going to go back into, actually, let me open Worksheet again, sorry. I'm going to show you the next thing that we have available that will help in this. And to set this up, I'm going to go ahead and open my post-pandemic bill of materials, my worksheet here, and I'm going to visualize this. So I'm going to go out into scenes, and I'm going to go into my entire design. And you'll see that I have I've kind of set this up already for you earlier in visual impression. So you're going to see the visual impression scene here really easily. Okay, and I'll take that into HQ mode so you can see. It's a real easy way to be able to show your customer what their new office is going to look like with the screens in the appropriate place. And this person here likes the chair that they had before, so we let her keep her chair. And then I've also set up some snapshots of different views of this design that I maybe want to share with my customer. So those of you that are using visual impression know that when I go over into presentation, I am able to see in the presentation mode, I'm able to see all of the snapshots that I've created. I'm also able to see all of the products with their finishes that I've created and all the fabrics and finishes that I'm using, as well as the room materials. So the presentation area allows you to see all of that. One thing that I don't think we talk enough about is the ability to be able to publish this. So as a designer, I can publish this information to the cloud. And it does require that you log in to Visual Impression Mobile. But once you're registered and have a username and password, you can publish things into Visual Impression. To Visual Impression Mobile. So basically I've logged in and I'm saying this is my post-pandemic design. My description, this is a new layout with physical or ABC company. And please let me, you get the idea. You can put whatever you want in here. And then you also have the ability to choose what you want to upload. So you may want to upload everything, which is what I'm going to choose to do right now, or maybe you just have a couple of things that you want to upload. So I'm going to ask it to open Visual Impression Mobile when it's done, and I'm going to publish these things to Visual Impression Mobile. And it takes just a second to send all of the assets to the cloud. And you'll see Visual Impression Mobile open. In the past, we've talked about this a lot, about publishing things for your salespeople to use and be able to view on an iPad. But this is just as using Visual Impression mobile as a designer is also very powerful during these times when you can't get physically near your customer. So what you're seeing here is all of the things that I have published to the web now. in Visual Impression Mobile. So I've got all my scene snapshots that I've put together. I've got all my furniture images, my furniture materials, and my room materials. And then we have another bucket here for companion files. And companion files are a great place to add things that are specific to the project or specific to your manufacturer. So maybe I have a video that I want to include. So I'm going to include this video about a chair, about a new chair that I'm giving to them. Maybe I want to include my manufacturer's brochure about returning to work. Okay. Maybe I want to include a JPEG of a specific a picture of, in this case, it's AIS's new office. Basically, you can include JPEGs. You can put videos together, PDF files, anything you might want to add for your customer to see, you can add in here. So once I have all these things in here, then the next step is I can actually create a presentation for my customer. So let's say I'm going to drag and drop this here. And this is ABC customer. It asks me to name my presentation, and then I can just include all the things that I want them to see. So maybe I have some furniture images. Maybe I want them to see a new chair that I'm going to show them, and maybe I want to show the materials that these chairs will be in, or the finishes that are going to be on the desk, or the panel fabric. If I want them to understand how that chair works, maybe I want to put the video in, and as you can see, I can rearrange things as I'm going along just by dragging and dropping them. And basically what I'm doing here is building a presentation of all, it's kind of like a virtual product board for my customer to be able to see and get a feel for what their new space is going to look like. Okay, so I'll pull that in there. Once I have this film strip made, I can look at it, I can view it as a presentation myself, and I can kind of walk through it and make sure that I'm showing my customer everything that they might want to see. Let me show you what happens when you get to a PDF. When I click on that PDF, in this case, it's a picture of a chair. If I click on the name of the chair, I can link that to the manufacturer's actual video, and they can see a video specific to that chair and all the things that it does. Okay. Let's go back to VI Mobile, and I'm going to close this for right now. And then I'm going to show you the last thing I can do is I can actually share this presentation. So I'm going to send this to myself, but you could send this, email this presentation to your customer. And when you press share, that kicks off an email. And I'm going to go over to my email real quick, and I'm going to open the email here, and they can click on it as a customer, and they're able to see that very same presentation that I was able to build. And you know, as I think everyone understands today, sometimes a picture helps the conversation, and in our virtual world, being able to walk through something with my customer becomes very valuable. And all of the same things that I showed you when I was viewing the presentation are available to them. So you can be really creative here. It's a great little tool, and again, it's included with your visual impression license. I'm going to jump back here to our presentation. And I just want to say thank you to everyone, and thanks again to AIS for providing our example project today. Please take a look at the May 2020 content, as we have added some new manufacturers, and some existing manufacturers have added new products to address the needs that we're running into today. I hope you've enjoyed this demo, and I hope all of you walk away with some new tools and strategies to address tomorrow's office and tomorrow's designs. So now I'm going to turn this back over to Vanessa and have her tell you a little more about our training offering.
Awesome. Cindy, thank you so much. So I was watching a lot of the questions coming in. So I just want to mention a couple things. As we were going through different pieces of that presentation, at the beginning in the project side, we were showing it in CAP Complete. But for anyone who's using 2020 CAP and Giza, all of those same types of scenarios still apply because they all go to worksheet, and you can get to that point where you can compare multiple worksheets to each other to get those different results. So even though we were looking at CAP Complete today, that was just one starting point, of course. I saw lots of good feedback in the shortcuts, being able to copy and paste and do things very, very quickly. We have some very savvy users in the audience. They're like, oh, I used to do the Control-Shift copy or Control-Shift-C. You have to have like 20 fingers on the keyboard half the time. So hopefully that makes your life just a little bit easier. And then some lots of smiley faces in that visual impression point. Now you kind of see why we're asking some of those questions earlier, right? Like, how are you presenting today? Are there some things that maybe we can help with, or being able to get that across, right? Now, as I promised, I'm also going to talk real quick about some different things with training. There were a couple questions in the chat window about worksheet training specifically, but just know that we have a couple different types of training available. Of course, our online training is the most popular right now. Many of our sessions are 2-hour classes with a live instructor and up to 8 students, but we have multiple classes for CAP, Giza, Worksheet, and Visual Impression. But we also, and I'm going to show you in just a second, we also just added some new training classes for CAP Complete specifically. So if you are new to CAP Complete, or if you're thinking about moving to CAP Complete, these classes are a little bit different because they are on demand and you have access to them for 6 months. So here's an idea or a quick example of what that can look like. I'm going to share my screen. And in just a second, you'll be able to see, I'm out on our website right now, just 2020spaces.com/training. And if I scroll down just a bit, here's the 2020 Office classes. So for any class that you might be interested in, whether it's CAP, CAP Complete, or Giza, you could just go to Office Applications. For worksheet classes, of course, or for visual impression classes, this will get you to all those dates. But for the new course I wanted to mention, if I go under Office Applications and I see CAP Complete, notice when I click on Find a Class, it opens up this new site. And I'm really, really excited to share this because I've been working on it for a very long time. But basically, these are the on-demand sessions. You can either purchase a simple 2-hour course, or you can purchase the whole bundle of classes. This example shows 5 classes, which is all of these classes together. If I were to click on any one of these, I can see a little bit more detail about it. I can see what that class includes. And when I say on demand, I mean a combination of different resources between videos that you can watch as well as practice files that you can download. Now, as an example, let me go in and say that I would like to sign in and take a look at this class. When I'm logged in, not only can I go through and watch or review any of the training courses, second. On the right are all of the other assets and details. Let me pause that for a second. I customize this, of course, because I'm probably going to want to see it full screen at different points to see the detail. But my favorite part to this is you can also search for specific topics. So if you have signed up for this class, but you're like, no, I got to get this one project done real quick before I go through all of the training, maybe I come in here and I'm looking specifically for like the copy rotate command. I can literally type that in and it'll take me directly to that video or series of videos that we talk about that topic. Okay, so rather than watching or consuming all of the videos, hopefully that makes it just a little bit easier. There's also a few resources that we include at the bottom. So classes like this, I have a couple different things I'd like to announce. We do have a coupon that's available. So any classes before the end of this month, if you register before the end of June, you can use the coupon code online20 for $20 off any online class, whether it's CAP Complete or 2020 CAP, or 2020 Giza, or 2020 visual impression, or 2020 worksheet. It applies to all of them. And then we spent a bit of time, in that project showing you the most beautiful side of the project, the visual impression side. And we also have a promotion going on for 2020 visual impression right now. So if you don't currently own visual impression, just for a few more days, I believe this discount goes for just one more week. If we have $200 off, you just have to reach out to our customer care team. You can reach them at office.sales at 2020spaces.com or the 800 number on the screen. Now, of course, we asked you guys a few questions, and we really, really appreciate the feedback, but I have one more question to ask. You spent a good, 45 minutes with us, but what was the most beneficial part of today? Can you pick one of these options on the screen? What did you like seeing? Seeing CAP Complete, seeing the 2020 Compare feature, the new worksheet enhancements, visual impression mobile, or those post-pandemic design tips, which kind of falls into a couple of the other categories. Wow, I'm surprised. You guys, the middle three, seeing or learning about CAP Compare, 2020 worksheet enhancements, and then that visual impression mobile, that was really well received. Good. Thank you so much for that feedback. You guys, we really appreciate you spending the time with us today. If you have any questions, we will stay on the chat window for just a few minutes. Otherwise, we hope that you have a very safe and eventful summer. Thanks, everybody.